Hello, everybody. Welcome to our CakeFu Master Series. Today we have a really awesome guest with us. She is a legend in the cake decorating world, and I am so excited to be able to have Earlene here with us today. She is so super talented and such a face in the cake decorating industry. Anybody that knows anything about cake knows Earlene. So welcome, Earlene, and we're so glad to have you today.
Well, thank you. I feel very honored that you asked me.
Oh, well, it's definitely our honor. So let's go ahead and get started with a little bit about you. I guess we would like to know a little bit more about your past. For those of you that don't know, I'm sure a lot of people do, but let's go through this. So you started out, the same way that a lot of people did, really, right? With your just experimenting with cake decorating, and it just turned into a business.
Well, yeah, when I started, there were no teachers. There was no Wilton classes. The only way you could learn anything was just to experiment. So Good Housekeeping came out with that magazine, and that just looked like a lot of fun.
That is fun. So Good Housekeeping came out and was a lot bigger and better before Wilton, I guess?
I think so.
Oh, okay. So you did your first cake from that magazine, and then you went on to do a wedding cake for your sister?
Right. My aunt's sister-in-law had done our wedding cake, and then when my sister, just younger than I am, got married, we had a local bakery do hers, and it was, gosh, awful.
Oh, no.
It was terrible. She was using copper taffeta for her bridesmaids' dresses, and the roses on that cake were just blobs. Somebody had used icing that was way too soft, and it was really ugly.
Oh, that's terrible.
So it's their fault I'm doing this.
Well, I guess that's a good thing,
So when the youngest sister got married, I said, well, I know I can do better than that. And so we found Made of Scandinavia and ordered some supplies from there, and that's where it got started.
Great. Awesome. And so you took some classes along the way. You joined ICES back in 1977. How long has ICES been around? Do you know?
I think it was organized in '76 in Michigan, but I wasn't part of that show. I didn't know anything about that one. But it came to Texas in Euless in 1977, and that's the first one I attended and joined. So I think that the '76 show was a Michigan Expo show where ICES was organized.
Oh, wow.
And then the first show that was officially titled ICES was in 1977 in Euless.
And where you first went, and you've only missed 2 shows?
Right.
That is amazing.
Yeah, there was one in Hawaii and one in the northeast of the United States, I think in '78 and '79, and I didn't get to go to those 2. But I haven't missed one since.
And being such a huge part of ICES, for those of you that may not know, I wouldn't imagine any of you wouldn't, but ICES is the International Cake Explorations Societe, and so it's a community that an organization, I guess, that is all about cake decorating, and they have a big convention every year. So that's what we're talking about. And you, Earlene, have actually been president, right? Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, I served 2 terms on the board and was president from '88, '89, and most of the 6 years I was on the board, I was working with the demonstration committee and working on a handbook for that committee.
Very cool. That is so cool. So honestly, when I said that she's a legend in the cake world, she has been with it since it started, really. So This is really a pleasure. Okay, so you met Dolores McCann online.
I I actually met her through ISIS
Oh, okay.
and at an ISIS show and had gotten acquainted with her there. And then I found her on the internet in 1995.
I see. All right, and so she has her website, sugarcraft.com, and then she helped you create yours. Is that right?
Right, that's right. That's right.
Great. And which it's been Earlene'sCakes.com. So how
Right.
how did how did you decide? What made you decide to do your website?
Um, there just wasn't anything out there for cake decorators. Dolores had a small site at that time, and she and I had been doing, well, after I contacted her, she and I started doing chats for AOL, and we did those for 3 years, and she has those archived on her website. So all that information is still there, and anybody can go in. If you want to print a book, there's a book's worth of chats that we did in that 3 years.
I'm sure that's a lot of
And,
really good information.
well, we discussed a little of everything we could think of.
Awesome.
And then what led to my doing the website was just sharing some pictures and information people had asked for, and etc. I never planned for it to get as big as it is now.
That's great. Well, if yeah, your serving chart, I think, is what drives so many people to your website. You just created the best serving chart around, and I don't know of anybody that doesn't use your chart.
Well, I created it for me
Hmm.
because a customer ordered a cake, and when I got it iced and almost decorated, I realized there's no way she could get as many servings as I told her she could from that cake. So I baked another cake to go with it on top of it. And after that, I started getting pans out and marking them off and seeing how many I could actually get out of some of the pans, and then I averaged sort of in between others. I made that chart for me. I never thought anybody else would want it. I just made it for me to use.
And
But
surprise.
yeah, then I put a little abbreviated form of it on the
Mhm.
website. But if you want the whole thing, you just have to order it.
Yeah, and the whole thing would be really useful because it adds a lot more information into it. What kinds of information does it add to?
Um, it tells you how many lace points to use, how many servings in a groom's cake, how many in a bride's cake. Because groom's cakes, you serve the whole thing. Bride's cake, you don't serve the top tier. The second page of it has like oval pans and heart-shaped pans and square pan. Well, it has the other shapes of pans. And then it also tells you like sheet cakes. If somebody wants 79 servings, then it tells you the basic which ones to use. And
For a basic tiered cake?
right, basic tiered or sheet cakes or whichever.
Perfect. Yeah, it's a really complex chart, and it's just really good information. So anybody interested in a cake serving chart, and you don't want to make your own, Arlene has a really good one. All right. Well, we're going to go and talk a little bit about some of the. Oh, here we have actually a picture of your serving chart right here. So
Right.
that's something that you can order through your website. And these are some other things. So you started out with your you said you started out doing recipes on your website,
Right.
and that's how you ended up doing a retail side of things online.
That's right. The Beautifan was a product I had used. I probably have used it for 50 years. Got it locally, did not realize you could not buy it anywhere other than around here. So when I put my recipes online on the website, then people began saying, well, where do we get it? And I said, well, just go to your restaurant supply. And then they call me back, nope,
It's
they
not
can't
there.
get it. So I
Huh.
called my supplier and said, would you ship it? And they said, no, we're not in the shipping business. We'll sell it to you and you can ship it.
Oh.
So that's why the shopping cart started.
Perfect. So that other people could make your recipes, huh?
Right. Now they've taken the Butavan away from us. It
Oh,
was a
really?
really good flavoring, but the company that makes it is no longer making it, so it's gone.
Oh.
And the powdered strawberry you see on the screen in front of you
Uh-huh.
is dehydrated strawberries with a little dextrose in it. So it's pure strawberry,
Oh,
except for that
cool.
little bit of dextrose. And if you add a teaspoon of that to a strawberry cake mix, it makes all the difference in the world in the way that tastes. So that one I will continue with. I have to order it in 50-pound boxes.
Oh boy.
So it's when you open that box, the whole room or house smells like strawberry.
I may have to order some of that. I love a really strawberry flavored cake, but I don't like it artificial tasting. So
Yeah, no,
I may have to get some of that.
this is pure strawberry and it's wonderful. That
Awesome.
and the lemon are the only two flavors I'm going to keep. Um, the Butavan they took away from us, and the other vanillas that I've tried, I'm not super happy with. So I'll just keep the lemon and strawberry.
All right. And then also these impression mats, that's another thing that
Right.
you found was not really readily available at the time. And so,
The diamond impression mat started with me finding a sheet that goes in the light fixtures overhead that
oh,
had that pattern on it. And so I'd go and every once in a while I'd buy 10 sheets of it and cut them up and sell them to other people. Well, they quit making that sheet. So I went to CK Products and they make those for me now in 3 sizes. The line mat came from a car floor mat
oh, clever.
because I was using that to make strawberries, potato
Oh,
chips. Take a piece of take a piece of random shaped gum paste and color it the base shape, the color rather for a potato chip. Put it in between two of those line mats, and you've got
well,
ruffles.
perfect.
Then all you have to do is a little dusting to make it look like a real
Well,
ruffle.
and so that's really a handy mat there for doing lots of fun things.
Yeah, yeah. I think Sharon Zambito uses that mat a lot. And the dot mat came because the girl I had helping me, which was Chris Cantrell, she I said, let me show you how to make those dots even. And she says, you can do that, but I can't do that. And I said, yeah, let me show you again. Oh, no, I can't do that. You have to fix me something. Well, then I went to teach somebody else, and they told me the same thing. So that's why we got the
Awesome.
dot mats.
Very useful mats. And for wedding cakes, those designs right there are some of the most used and handy, you know.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
sort of
exactly,
classics.
exactly. And this is something else that you created. You were tired of doing long lines of rope, and so you kind of created your own little thing.
Right. We had these 3 discs made out of stainless steel.
Hmm.
And the one you see in the bottom right-hand corner is an adapter disc for the little sugar craft gun, the little red and black gun,
Uh-huh.
because that has 2 small discs for rope. Um, and you can, whatever size rope you need. If you're doing like a 6-inch tier, you might need the larger of that sugar craft set. But
Hmm.
if you're doing like a 16-inch tier, you might want to use the larger one out of the ones we had made.
I see.
And as
Yeah.
in the middle there, you see you can also put a tip in there if you want to use that. Now, to extrude fondant out of this extruder, you want to soften it with piping gel.
Okay.
And then Danny created this little wooden base for it to sit in, and he made it where we can put a roll of fax paper or cash register paper that you can pull down as it comes out so you don't ever stretch it out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's on a clean surface, and then you can roll it to twist it and etc.
That is like the coolest thing I have ever seen. I
It works.
just love that. Love that. Well, and it makes perfect sense because, you start extruding something and you have to keep moving it and moving it. And, for me, I just do this, zigzag pattern all the way down my table. But if you can just take that and just zip it all out, that's very
the
nice
rope,
and handy.
when you're making the rope, you need a long straight piece.
Mm-hmm.
So you couldn't zigzag it down the table and make it roll.
Yeah,
into
especially
rope.
if you're twisting to make it that rope pattern, you just can't.
Right.
So, nice, very nice. Nice to know that that's around and available.
It's available.
All right, so now we're going to talk about a couple of your of the molds that you sell on your website and how to use them. So you're going to show us a couple of different tutorials. This training is just so packed, you guys. Oh boy, we got to work through this fast because it is so packed with such great information. I love it. I'm so excited. So I'll let you just go from here.
The chains on that purse are done with the extruded fondant out of that extruder using a small, just plain circular hoe. And you extrude a piece, whatever length you need, and then form one chain. So we'll get into that detail a little bit later. But that is where I use that extruder.
Yes.
Okay, the pattern you see to the right is the pattern I used for the ends of the purse. You want to cut it about the width of the top of the purse, but at the bottom you want it a little wider so you can make those little gathers or little poochy places that you can see on the end of the purse.
Very nice.
While it's flat, you want to use the alligator mat to texture it, or whichever other texture that you might want to use. Then the next piece, you do that on either end. Oh, I see we're going to go through that step by step, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
Okay. Okay, so you're going to cut that out, and I used a cutting wheel to cut that out because it doesn't stretch things, so it's a great tool for cutting things out.
Perfect. What brand is that cutting wheel? Is that a PME?
I'm not sure. It could be a PME or a gem. I think it's probably a PME.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Then once it's cut, you press that alligator flat mold into the dough to get your imprint. It's kind of hard to put that back in and press again, so make sure you pressed it good before you remove it.
Okay.
Kind of peek under one side, put it back down if it needs a little more imprint.
So you actually take the fondant and you lay it on top of the print and press it down?
No, I laid
or would you lay the print or the mold on top of the...
I laid the mold on top of the print. But I said, yeah, you could probably do it either way. It wouldn't matter.
Okay.
Okay. Then I applied some thin down piping gel to the end and then got the gathered up area like I wanted it and then trimmed the excess off on either side.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay, then you want the front section, which was on that pattern that we had. It's from the bottom up to the little dashes across there. That's the bottom section of the front of the purse. And you see where I put that, your pattern is, whoever did this mold did a great job. because you can match it right at the end. It's marked to where you know exactly where it will fit where the pattern goes. So all you have to do is match that pattern up and then press it again to get it the full width, the pattern you want.
That is really, I love the way that that pattern is. It's not just a flat edge where you end up
Right.
having, not right looking stuff right there in the middle. So,
Yeah, you don't have to guess where it fits.
mm-hmm.
It really is marked for you so you know exactly where it fits.
That's perfect. I love
I
that.
just wish they'd done that on the top and bottom also.
Oh, yeah. So if you're going down, that makes
Right.
sense. Mm-hmm.
Okay, then that was applied also with thin down piping gel applied, and then that pressed onto the front. And then I used my fingers. Here I am with my little arrow on my mouse trying to show you where, and it doesn't work that way, does it?
Not
At the top
quite.
edge of that, you want to thin that down because when you overlap, you don't want that edge showing.
Okay.
Okay?
Perfect.
Okay, then the last piece is from the top pattern down to where the overlap, that you're going to press that and then put that on from the back and then overlap it.
Okay.
So, okay?
All right. Looking cool already.
It's not a hard thing to do. It's fun.
Yeah. Oh, there it says to apply it going over from the back to the front.
Right?
Drape that on. Okay.
Okay. Now, this is the extruder. I softened some fondant by kneading piping gel into it until I got a softer consistency because this little hole I'm going to extrude it through is pretty small. So I softened it a little more than I would for rope. And then you wrap that one end of that dough with saran wrap before you put it into that tube. That'll keep it from backing up when you go to push it out on the other end.
I've never seen that done before. That is
Um,
brilliant.
well, the people who made the extruder have instructions to do that. For some of
Oh,
us who
okay.
are bad about reading
I guess I don't
instructions,
read instructions.
after you've used it the first time, taking it apart to clean it, you understand why they told you to do that.
Yes, I've
But
cleaned many times.
this extruder is extremely hard to get back together if you take it totally apart because it fits so tight. So it's better to put the saran wrap over it and not have to pull that out of there.
That is very smart. I don't have this exact brand, but I have had to clean out mine several times because, you know.
Yeah, it just goes, it sneaks in behind that little pusher,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and then you've got to get it out of there. Well,
Yeah.
this prevents that, so it's a wonderful step-saving little thing.
Very, very nice. I'm definitely using that tip. All right.
Okay, then I extruded it, as you see, down on the paper and then pulled the paper down so I didn't stretch it out. And then I made one link. You see that toothpick laying beside it?
Oh, I guess I'll go back. Sorry. There we go.
That toothpick was actually, I made it the length of the toothpick plus about a half an inch. That's what each link measured. So I didn't have to get a ruler or anything out. I just used that for my measurement and then just sort of shape your link, put a little piping gel, thin down piping gel right where it meets, and then just kind of push them together a little. And then the second link, you just sort of sneak it inside that link and then over it, and just keep building them one at a time till you get a length made.
These are so cool. They look like, your actual metal links. I love it.
Yeah, they're even a little rough looking like metal links are.
That's right. That's exactly it. And that's what makes them look so cool is that they're not, that
They're
you
not
know
perfect.
they
No.
they where they connect together. It looks like how the metal would connect together, and yeah.
Okay, you're going to make the D-rings, and
Uh-huh.
then you're going to make as many links as you want.
Okay.
So if you want the links a lot, if you want your chain a lot longer, make it a lot longer, but you need 2 D links and then a length of the chain.
Okay.
Okay, after you get that made, then I took a little line of this and put on the front edge where the side and the front meet, where you got that little bit of raw edges, and you just press that in, and that looks like what do they call it, piping.
Yep. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Trim it
Recording the
off.
piping.
Yeah, just trim it off right below that little lap, because you're going to come from the back and down and around the fold over, and then down to the other side, and then that finishes off all your raw edges.
Perfect. All right. And these are your rings again. Talking about the D rings, those rings that are at the top that are in a D shape. That's what you were talking about with the D
Right,
rings.
that's right. Yeah, and a pair of tweezers is fabulous for helping pull those links together.
Oh, okay.
Because it's kind of hard to get your fingers in there when you've got a wet link you're pulling it through. So you don't want to distort that shape by pulling another one through it. So you use a pair of tweezers to help do that.
Perfect. All right. And yeah, that is pretty small, judging by how small
Right.
those tweezers are, and yeah, so that would be.
Yeah, can't get your finger in there.
Yep.
Okay, then after you get your links made, your D-ring goes in the top of that little strap on either side of your purse that holds your handle, if you wanted to make a solid handle or a chain link or whatever. And so I just make one long, that's probably maybe 2.5, 3 inches long, with just a V cut on either end, and it's about 1/2 or 3/4 of an inch wide. So you don't need to mark one end, because it's going to be underneath and stuck to the purse, so you don't need the stitching marks on the one end.
Okay.
Just on the end that's going to show.
And do they
And then,
do they meet at the bottom in that V shape
right,
together? Okay.
right. And then you slip it through that D-ring, and then with a little piping gel, you stick them together, and then stick it on your side of your purse.
Perfect. Okay.
So at the top of that, you see your D-ring with your strap onto it and your chain, and then you want to make your bling part that goes on the front. I use the Giza mold for that bling, and then I put an E on the back for me.
Yay.
But I just made an M and an A, so you could see you could make other letters with it.
Yeah, yeah.
If you wanted that A to be an R, I'd probably cut off a little section off of the top of the A on one side to make it look like it was rounded, and then maybe a little V in at the middle section of the R to give it a little more, where it would look like an R instead of an A.
Okay.
So I think you could make almost any letter out of that one mold.
Yeah, usually when you have 5 of anything down, you can use, you can do just about any letter. So that's a perfect mold for it.
That's another smart mold.
Yes, very smart.
We'll give Dominic some credit for being smart here.
Yes. I love it.
Okay, so all of those pieces need to be made and a little bit dried.
Okay.
Okay, there's your D-ring and your end attachment made.
And
attached with some piping gel again. Now, when you get that attached, then you want to add one more link to that D-ring.
Okay.
Because when you go to connect your chain link with the D-ring, you need one link that you can move connect the two of them.
Okay.
Okay, the E and the bling piece on the front, I then painted with some of the Albert Ooster gold, and I mixed that with piping gel and painted all of that, and then I sprinkled it with the Disco Dust Gold.
Okay, so you painted it with gold from the Albert Ooster gold, and then you put piping gel on top of that gold?
No, I mixed the gold with the piping
Gold with the
gel
piping
and then
gel and
painted it.
painted it on.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and
Right.
then you put the powder on top.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
It's very shiny. We like
Yes.
shiny.
Very blingy.
Yeah. All right. Oh,
Okay. When I painted the links with this Albert Ooster gold and confectioner's glaze. And so I took a little piece of tinfoil and painted that. I mixed that confectioner's glaze and the Albert Ooster gold in that so that I wouldn't ruin anything. Because that confectioner's glaze dries pretty hard, and it you don't want to use something that you want to use over again with that. So I just made me a little tinfoil cup to mix that up in, and that's what I painted the chain and the D-rings. You could paint the bling piece with it too if you wanted to.
okay. And so the point of the confectioner's glaze, is it to make it more shiny, or is it to seal in the gold so it doesn't come off, or what?
Yeah, to seal it in so that the gold doesn't rub off, so your chain, when it hits the top of your purse or goes over it, it doesn't leave marks everywhere it touches.
That's really a good idea. I know I've seen a lot of purse cakes where, they've made this chain and they lay it on top of the cake, and then it's all smudged and messed up. So that's a really good way to prevent that from happening.
You just got to be sure that you've got cleaner for your brush handy while you're using that so you don't ruin your brush.
Yeah, that confectioner's glaze, for anybody that hasn't used it, it is some strong stuff.
Yes, it is.
It does not wash off easily at all. So you pretty much have to have a glaze cleaner that's made just for cleaning off the glaze. Do you know of anything else?
I think rubbing alcohol you could use too.
Oh.
It just smells like rubbing alcohol, the cleaner does. But you'd have to be really careful and wash your brush good with soap and water after you use that.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I see that the brand right there that you're using is Chef Rubber.
Right.
And I do know that Chef Rubber actually has a glaze cleaner that you can buy right along with it. So
yeah, I just didn't think to stick that bottle over there.
Well, no, it's not. It wasn't part of the decorating process, so I can see why you didn't.
It's part of the cleanup process.
It is. Which is always nice to get, the cleanup tips too. One year I did a project for Tulsa that had confectioner's glaze on it, and I was not as careful as I should have been with my brushes, and I destroyed them. So yeah, gotta be careful.
Yeah, especially if they're expensive brushes.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Then to finish it out, the chain, it's a pain in the butt to paint that chain because you've got to paint where it doesn't touch anything else, let that dry, then you got to move it and paint another section where it needs painting and let that dry because you want it where it'll move freely so you can place it where you want it. Then you lay it where you want it, and that one chain that's attached to the D-ring and the last chain on either end, you make one fresh one then to connect those two.
Right.
And
so
then you let that, then you let that dry, and you've got that one chain then that you still got to paint after you get everything arranged on your purse.
Beautiful. That is so pretty. And I love the base, your board. What did you design that with?
Well, the bottom edge around there is the Giza mold again,
Oh, okay.
and then the corners are the Shirley left and right molds.
Okay. And those
And
you can find those on your website?
right,
I
right.
love that
So,
design.
and then I just extruded a little bit more of that I used on the chains
Mm-hmm.
and put some little extra lines to connect places and made little balls where I needed just a little dot.
Perfect.
So I didn't have to add much. I just
I,
thought it needed something a little more feminine to
uh-huh.
finish it.
Well, it's beautiful. It's perfect, just the way that you did it. So
And
very pretty.
I dusted the chocolate with oh no, I can't think of the color. Uh, Maybe it'll come to me in a minute.
Okay. Was it like a copper or a?
No, it wasn't a copper. Um, can't think what the color is. It's a greenish. It has a little green and a little copper look to it, but I can't remember the name of it. I'm sorry.
That's all
One
right.
of, one of the benefits of being a geezer.
Yeah. Well, I use the excuse all the time too, though. It's just, I use the excuse that I'm a mother.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
easy to forget when you're a mom. All right, so these are your enhanced lace molds that you have created and worked with Dominic on creating. For those of you that don't know what an enhanced lace mold is basically she's taken a lace mold and she's overpiped it and then created another mold so that when you make this mold, it actually has the lace or the overpiping already in it. So it takes out a whole step of work, and I love that. So clever.
Well, we're actually taking the real lace,
Oh, okay.
and that's mount. Dominic takes care of mounting that. It took us 6 months to figure out this process, but we got it figured out. So we mount the lace, and then he sends it to me, and I overpipe it with royal icing, and then I package it and send it back to him, and then he makes the molds. So everything is already overpiped.
That is so great. That's such a time saver. I mean, you can take a regular lace mold and you can make a bunch of them and put them all over your cake, and then you have to, go through and pipe everything on. So to have this
Right.
one step further where you don't even have to worry about that is uh, such a time saver. I love it.
Well, it saves your hands too,
Yeah.
because those of us who can't do the heavy piping anymore, um,
Mm-hmm.
you can use the molds and still get the same kind of effect without having to do the overpiping.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. All right, and so there's differences between just that, the last mold that you showed us and these lace molds. So you want to explain how they work a little bit differently?
Um, Dominic, being the very clever man he is, has put a couple of features in these molds that just make it much better for you as a cake decorator to use. The backside of every one of our lace
Here, I'll switch
molds
over to this.
has this outline on it.
Mm-hmm.
And that outline is for you when you have rolled out a piece of fondant, gum paste, whatever you're using, that you can press that down and know how many shapes you can get out of that. Then all you have to do is cover them up and use them one at a time. You don't have to guess it whether you have enough or not. And that outline is slightly bigger than the mold itself. So even if you overlap a little, you're still okay.
Oh, good. Yeah, if you see up in the top left corner, you can see the two sides of that mold. And so the top one is that outline, and then the bottom picture is the actual mold itself.
That's right. And
Just the
that
flip side.
mold has the cutting blade that Dominic also came up with. It's a little thin. Here I am with my arrow again. It's a little thin edge around the outside of that mold shape that when you lay your dough over the top of it, if you just take a roller and roll very lightly or you rub it, it'll trim it for you and you don't have any hand trimming to do.
Perfect. That's really smart.
Right. It's a really great idea.
It is. It is. I think that's the biggest issue that people have with making molds or with using molds is to get that nice clean edge. So this fixes that problem.
And then another thing that we want you to not do is we don't want these molds filled up. We want you to roll your dough out pretty thin to start with. I found some coffee stirrer sticks and tried those, and they are perfect.
Huh.
The bigger skewer sticks are actually a little too thick, so you've got to roll them down again. But these coffee stirrer sticks are perfect. So if you roll them out between the coffee stirrer sticks, it takes it to about the same thing as a number 3 or 4 on your pasta machine.
Okay. Perfect.
And that's a good thickness to do on most of the molds.
All right. So if you have a pasta machine, you can do 3 or 4. If not, use these coffee stirrers. Very smart.
Right. That's right.
All right.
Okay. And then the bottom left picture shows where I've used the back of it to mark so I know I have enough dough. And then the bottom right picture shows flipping that over and dusting it with cornstarch.
Okay.
Okay, top right is the cornstarch side I have put down, and then I've taken a roller and rolled lightly over the top, and then I took that roller and just kind of rubbed over where that green is showing through. The cornstarch down so that when we go to press that pattern into it, it's not going to stick.
Okay.
And if you press too hard, if you roll real hard, you're going to lay that edge down instead of cutting. So that's why we tell you to roll lightly and not hard.
Okay. All right. So then after you're done lightly rolling and you have that cut away, then you press it down?
We're going to peel away the outside, where you've trimmed. Just get rid of that, put it back under something so it won't dry out. Then with your fingers, press really firm down into that mold. Okay. Make sure you've got your design pressed in all the way over your mold. I found also that probably an inch stencil brush, it's got lots and lots of hairs on it and they're all the same length. Just take a rubber band and put around the end of it. And if you use that, you can really get better detail by pouncing it down on top of that.
Perfect.
Then once you've got your detail pressed in, then turn it over and you can roll it back to get your design to fall out. Or there are some people who take that flat edge and pull it to either side to kind of loosen it and then push up underneath, and that will sort of make it start popping out of there. There are multiple ways to get it out of there, but it removes easily.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Last thing you want is to have to dig it out and then you're messing up your mold. So
Right. And if you don't get enough detail in there, these molds have so much pattern in them that you can put them back in there and press again where you need more detail.
Perfect.
Okay, bottom left. This is the viola mold, and I wanted to do a small tiara to go on a cupcake. So as you can see, here I am using the arrow again. The little curve at the bottom of the green, we want to straighten that out. So you just very gently encourage it to go straight instead of curved down.
Oh,
so we've reshaped it a little. Okay.
Cool. Very nice.
And then I took I think that's a pint or a half a pint jar, and
Hmm.
laid that over the top of it so that it would get the right dimension. You just don't want to put it over something that is bigger underneath it because it'll break it when you go to take it off. You got to slip it off.
Oh, okay. Hmm.
Okay?
All right. Very cool. I love how you can manipulate the mold a little bit so that it fits to what you
Oh,
want it to do.
absolutely.
I love that.
Manipulate, trim, cut, take whatever you want out of there. You don't have to use the whole thing.
Perfect. All right, and these are another or a few more examples of how you use your lace elements.
I encourage people to look at that mold for what's in it, not just the whole thing.
Hmm.
This is the Carolyn mold to the right, and there are two curves at the top. There's a section at the very bottom, and then there's a little bigger section from the bottom up to about the middle. So there are multiple elements in this one mold. If you look to the top left, those two curves are the top ones out of this mold that I cut out of it.
Hmm.
The little piece that's kind of angled down toward the center, that's the very bottom of that mold. The piece to the side that's angled toward the center is from the middle to the bottom of the mold. And then the other two little curved pieces are also, one's just the little tiny curve out of that top, and the other is the whole curve.
Oh, okay.
So the right side, I went ahead and did a little piping and put some edible sequins on there and uh, painted it with some pearl dust. The left side is just showing you the elements that I used to get
To
that
make
pattern.
that. That is
Right.
spectacular. I absolutely love that this is just one mold,
That's
and it
right.
creates so much out of just that one mold.
That's right.
You look at a mold and think, well, it can do this, but then you can actually look at like you said, the different elements, and then you can create so much more. It's
And
beautiful.
that little cutting wheel tool is wonderful for cutting your elements out. You I just learned there's one little trick you need to do, and that you need to angle that cutting wheel under the piece that you want to use. That way you don't have any trimming to do once you get it cut loose.
Okay.
If you cut straight down, you've got to trim a little more. So you want to cut it at an angle under the piece you want to use.
Wonderful. And we've got even one more little thing that we're going to show you with the lace molds that these are so cute. I love these.
Okay, this is the Sue mold. And so it's kind of a heart shape. And so we need two pieces. And we're going to roll it out, about 1/8 of an inch, because we need a top and a bottom for this.
Okay. Sorry. There you go. Took a minute to load.
Okay, then I rolled out a long strip, and still about 1/8 of an inch thick, and I cut a straight long piece, and then about 1/4 inch from the edge of that mold, I piped a line of thin down piping gel where I wanted this edge to sit to make the sides of my box. So on the heart, I like to start at the tip of the heart in the top,
Mm-hmm.
because where that is going to meet, you can make usually match, and it doesn't really show up that much.
Okay. Good.
So I started there, worked my way around the side down, and then at the
Mm-hmm.
top center, I trimmed it and then finished it there, and then trimmed it and put a little piping gel in and kind of pinched it together a little bit. So this piece, you can see that's your bottom piece with your sides on it, and then you just press in your design for your top piece. So you've made a box. All you've
I
needed
love
is two
it.
shapes and a strip for a heart, and it's a simple little easy thing to do.
Yeah, and it's so, so, so cute.
Okay, you need a little piece to go in the top of the box to keep the lid from sliding off.
Uh-huh.
So once the bottom box is dry, then you take and put a piece of paper over the top, use a pencil, and do a rubbing, and that you want that inner edge of your box. You want to rub the size of that and the shape of that.
Okay.
Okay, then you're going to cut that out, and then you're going to make a masking tape handle. So you want it to fit in there easily. You don't want it to rub on any side.
Okay.
You're going to cut that piece out and glue it to the inside of the top. And then that'll keep your top from coming off if you happen to tilt it.
Okay. Very nice.
Okay? And then your box is finished other than painting it, whatever you want it to be. That's about the easiest way in the world I can think of to make a box.
I love that. It's beautiful and it makes such a huge effect and is super easy.
Well, and we've got Mother's Day coming up, right?
Yes, this would be so perfect for Mother's Day. Put a few pieces
Yeah.
of chocolate in there or something, a few cake balls, you know.
Jelly beans
There you
or
go.
M&Ms. You know, if you have a mom who loves M&Ms.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, and that would be fun to, you know, even something like jewelry, you know,
Right,
would be fun.
right.
So,
I always thought it would be a really fun thing for a young man to take with him to a restaurant in a small box to give to a young lady, and she might open it up and there'd be little heart-shaped candies in there, and then as she begins to explore, she finds a little diamond ring in there.
oh, how cute.
Wouldn't that be a sweet way?
That would be so fun. I love the idea of that. That is so fun. All right. Well, we have a lot of questions that have been sent in.
Okay.
Before we get to those, here's the final product of a bunch of the different molds made into little boxes.
Okay, in the middle on the left-hand side, that is a little pasteboard box that I found at Hobby Lobby. And I got polymer clay that air dries, and I rolled it out and used it just like what you do with the icing, glued it on with Elmer's glue, made some tiny little pearls, and I used the crisp mold around the sides, and I used the Ruth mold on top. So if you wanted to give that to a mom and it not have sugar stuff on it that's going to attract bugs and ants and etc., you can do it this way.
If you want it to be permanent, yeah.
Right. You can use the polymer clay in these molds. They work great.
Good. That's good to know. Yeah, they're just so beautiful, all the different molds and the different shapes. They're
Yeah,
just
you can
stunning.
make the whole box out of polymer clay if you wanted to.
Perfect. All right. We have a couple of recipes that Earlene is sharing with us today. This is really fun. A cranberry relish and a cranberry salsa. So I love cranberries. So this is
Oh,
very nice.
I buy cranberries when they're in season, and I put them in my suck and seal bags and put them in the freezer and keep them all year long.
Oh, that is so smart.
I make up a recipe of this, and we eat a little of it. My husband gets tired of it. I don't. And then I package it up in small freezer containers and put it in the freezer. And then if I get hungry and I want some of that with toast in the morning for breakfast, then I pull out that little container and I've got enough for several days. And it might be 2-3 weeks before I pull any of it out again. But I can make it all year long that way.
Very nice. I like that. I like that a lot. And then with your cranberry salsa, cranberries and cilantro. Oh, that sounds
That is
heavenly.
that
Oh,
is so good.
That
I
just
don't
sounds
think you'd have enough of this to put in the freezer, but I'm sure it would keep just as good as the other does.
triple or quadruple your bet before you
Oh, it's
before.
good.
Yeah, I know that this would disappear at my house, even if it was just me eating it.
Uh-huh.
You know, I'm a sucker for salsa, and something like this, it's just a little different. Like mango salsas, and boy, cranberry salsa sounds good.
And to be able to have this in the summertime when it's not in season because you stuck those cranberries in the freezer
Mm-hmm.
makes it even better.
Yeah, I love that. I'm doing that this fall. All right. Well, okay, so on to our questions. I know that we have a whole bunch, and I want you guys to stick around. Make sure you stick around. We are doing a giveaway, and we're doing a promotion with Earlene. So she's going to be offering a discount with you guys. So make sure that you hang around. Okay, first question. Um, here's Here's an interesting one. This goes back to your serving sizes. Nicole asks, how did you come up with your cake serving chart? Your servings are much bigger than the other ones out there. It's confusing since there are so many out there.
They're really not any bigger. They're just truthful.
I like that.
If you take a cake pan, turn it upside down, take a washable ink marker and mark it off where you've got 1 inch wide, 2 inch long pieces, you cannot get what the other charts give you. You cannot.
Yeah.
And you've got to allow a little bit for a knife cut. That's going to take some of that cake away. I just marked off 1 by 2 pieces, and this is how many servings I came off with. I didn't mark it in circles. I marked it straight lines.
Okay.
And so if I was out near the edge of the curve, then one piece might be a little bit further over, and then you get narrower as you get toward the center of the curve.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's straight across, they're 1 inch wide, 2 inches deep, and the depth of the cake. If it was a sheet cake, it would be a 2 by 2 piece. It's the same size they're telling you, except how in the world can you get that many servings out of a cake if you can't mark it off with a pin and get it? How can you get it cutting it with a knife?
Chances are you won't, and especially if somebody else is serving the cake and don't understand, serving sizes, you're going to run into the problem of people serving too big of pieces and running out of cake, and
And you never know who's going to be serving that cake and how big a piece they're going to serve.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'd rather give somebody a little more cake and than to feel chintzy and know I didn't give them enough.
Yeah, I agree with that. I tend to err on the side of too big also, too much than not enough.
Yeah. Well, I want to be honest with me and my customer. If I don't feel like I could cut 100 pieces out of a cake, then how can I expect a customer to do that?
Yep. Okay, this is a very interesting question. We have Kimberly M. asks, seeing the changes in the cake decorating world over the years, what have you liked the most?
Oh, the lace. I just went nuts when I found Rosemary Watson and her lace. I probably bought more of her lace molds than anybody else did. I loved her lace molds, got real well acquainted with her. She's a friend. I treasure her friendship. And before we ever even considered doing these lace molds, I talked to her about it, got her blessing and her consent before I ever talked to Dominic. Because when I called him, he says, oh, no, that's Rosemary's. We can't do that. And I said, hey, I just talked to her. We have her blessing. You know her? Yeah, I know her.
Awesome.
She's a friend.
That is great. I love that story. I've heard you tell that story before. That the way that you came up with the idea behind your lace molds, and it's just a fun story. It just all came together so perfectly.
Just as a
So
little bit of work to get it there. Yeah.
yes, I'm
Yeah.
sure, but well worth it, and we appreciate it for sure. Okay, so okay, we have Glenda Job asks, could you repeat the chat site that you and Dolores created?
You have to go to Dolores's sugarcraft.com, and you have to look for a link to her personal website. It's actually still on sugarcraft.com. There's not really another address for it, but you'll find a link on that front page of sugarcraft.com to her personal website. And then on that you will find where it says AOL chats, and you click on that link. Be
Okay.
prepared to do a lot of reading if you want to read through all of them.
Yeah. Is it, I guess, organized at all, or is it just there?
It's only organized, but the dates they were done.
Okay. Okay. Good to know. Someone should go through all of that information and make it, really accessible and useful that way.
Well, at least she's kept it there.
Exactly.
You know.
Well, I'm sure that that's wonderful information. I'm sure a lot of us would love to get our hands on it. Okay. Let's see. Janice Otto or
Otto?
Odo?
Otto?
Is it?
She lives in Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Yes, Orlando, Florida. That's right.
Yeah, her cousin is the photographer that I worked with here in town a lot.
Oh, okay.
So
Cool.
hi, Janice.
All right. Janice asks, what is the shelf life for the strawberry?
Oh, since it's dry and powdered, as long as you keep it dry, it should last forever.
Okay. All right. Someone asks about the cottage law and what you think about the cottage law for people who are just starting out or
Okay. We have the cottage law in Texas. I think it is absolutely wonderful, fabulous,
great.
because I operated illegally out of my home nearly my whole cake decorating life.
Mm-hmm.
Because back when I started doing things for people, there were no, you had to be a bakery or else.
Mm-hmm.
And private parties, private citizens ordering things was actually illegal. But I had 3 small children, a husband, struggling small family. We didn't have money to build a bakery.
Mm-hmm.
And I certainly wasn't making enough money to pay for a bakery. I just think it's great that you can do cakes for your friends and family
Mm-hmm.
from your home, just making sure your home is clean and sanitary, and you've got to be really careful because you
Yeah.
sure don't want to make anybody sick, because that could take away your home.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and I think I agree with you. I think that the cottage law is a really good thing. We're actually fighting to get it here in Nevada right now. It's in the in the works. So hopefully it goes through.
Well, it's legal in Texas. We still have some cities that are fighting it, but it's a Texas a whole statewide law. It's not a city law. So some of the cities are having a hard time coming around to it. But they're also now trying to get it where you can take things to, if you make fudge, that you can take it to farmers markets and
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing. Right now, we still can't do that.
Oh, okay. That's very interesting. It's very interesting to see how the different states, it set
Yeah.
things up. Yeah.
Yeah, every state's different.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we have Nancy here. She says, does the piping gel mixed with the fondant make the drying process longer?
It softens it a little, yes. Where I am, it's very, very, very dry. So today we've got an exceptionally moist day. It's actually misty outside. But most of the time our humidity is like 20% or less. So if my fondant starts getting really kind of crusty, crunchy, I mix some piping gel in with it, put some Crisco on my hands.
Okay.
If my gum paste starts going dead on me, then I put a little piping gel and it'll come back to life. If my royal icing is a little too thick, I put piping gel in it to make piping easier. If buttercream, I'm going to do some string work with buttercream, I mix piping gel with that to make it have a little more stability as far as the string work.
Mm-hmm. A little more
So
elastic.
piping gel is your best friend.
Awesome. That's good to hear. All right, we have someone asked, what do you use to thin down your piping gel?
Water.
Okay.
Just water.
Okay, easy.
Yeah, easy.
All right.
I have used vodka occasionally, and that worked too.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get to, we're going to have to choose maybe one more question. Here's a good one for our last one. She says, when you are shaping the cut piece, like the tiara, should you use Crisco on the jar that you're molding it on?
No, you don't want it to stick. If anything,
Okay.
put a little cornstarch on there because you do not want it to stick.
Okay. Great. All right. And I'm sorry that we didn't get to all of your questions, you guys. I know that we always have a lot of extra questions. You guys are really good at that. So, but we wanted to go ahead and do the giveaway and the promotion. Before we do that, we want to mention Earlene's website again one more time for those of you, earlenescakes.com. You're also doing a fun project where you're making some Santas, some sculpted Santas with a fellow friend.
Well, I have a friend who he sculpts all of the faces and the hands and etc. on his Santas. He does all that, pours them in resin, and then he brings me the faces and hands, and I help him clean them up and do some blush on the cheeks and some eyeliner on the eyes and things like that that guys don't know what to do with.
Uh-huh.
And
Awesome.
glue all those little eyelashes on and put the eyes in, and that's kind of a fun thing to help him in the summertime.
Perfect. That sounds like so much fun. It really does.
Yeah.
I actually have gone over to the website and have seen some of those, and they are beautiful. They are
Yeah,
gorgeous
his
pieces.
are not typical Santas. They're absolutely different kind of Santas. He's got them like woodsman. He's got them like fisherman. You can go to J. Crew's gallery and see his stuff. It's just gorgeous.
Very definitely worth going and checking them out. They are really absolutely gorgeous. And we do appreciate all of you guys for listening in, and thank you so much, Earlene, for coming.
Oh, you're welcome.
I can't ever get. I've taken your classes several times through the ICs and things like that, and I just can't ever get enough from you. So so
Well,
you do give wonderful information. Thank you
I
so
try to
much.
pack as much as I can into every demo time that I am allowed to do.
And you do, and it's wonderful information. So thank you so much. And I guess that concludes it. We have run over a little bit, but I hope you guys were able to hang in with us and enjoy the training. And thank you again, and we will see you guys next time.
And if anybody has more questions, you can email me at earlenescakes@yahoo.com. I'll be glad to answer your questions.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.